be a real powerhouse in terms of auto attacks on this Weaver. Like, even if he did just want to go for a quick defusal, I wouldn't blame him up against the Medusa. But in fact, it seems XM is actually running down bot. And Arme is going to take over the mid lane.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a much more volatile lane now. Like, there is some really good damage coming out from Ame that can fly. And of course, he's super squishy. You have to bounce that act pretty nicely. This will allow the sideline to be a bit more aggressive, though. It's like Weaver is just naturally harder to deal with. Just so much more slippery. Just so much more slippery, and it can make it pretty tricky. You have really good damage amp here from Victoria and James. Like, the wave coming out and the tag team can make it super easier for Weaver to find those early kills.
30 seconds to battle.
I wish I understood what these voice lines meant. Yeah, they sound hilarious, but I'll read up on it later. Wasn't enough time before the cast to actually figure out what they were saying. Top lane, of course, SRF going to be on the Necrophos, but more importantly, bot lane, there is going to be a bit of an early engagement coming out. But XM, he was thinking about going for the steal with the Sakuchi. He won't bother any longer. He'll just back off. And it appears the fight over that top banner rune still remains, as Sylar is not giving up on it. And he does even it out 2 for 2 for his team. If he hadn't gone for that, of course, it would have been a 3-1. They don't seem to want to give any kind of gold away to the side of CDEC.
Yeah, you don't want to have them have that little advantage. You know, both teams can make use of that quite well. One thing of note, though, is that we do still get the Ember Necrophos lane, right? Like, we were talking about this lane potentially in mid. It is our top lane, actually, and this is something we saw last time. The Necrophos kind of found some kills early on, wasn't as impactful as you'd expect. We'll see if SRF can kind of change that pace here.
I don't know about this. SRF, he gets coconutted up, and with that Flame Guard, he doesn't die, but he takes so much damage. That's at level 1, but now the shards come in from James. He didn't go for the tag team. SRF forced the Fairy Fire, but Sylar, underestimating the amount of damage they had, does go down, and SRF with a very nice bait on that Fairy Fire Death Pulse will be able to just get that burst heal in time.
That's a good start for CDEC. Already a bit of a better time in terms of this top lane. See SRF hit level 2, so he has that self-sustain with a Heartstopper now. And why?
Oh, why? Yeah, he might just die. Yeah, SRF, he's going to have the damage. That is already 2-0 for this Necrophos, and this should be a lane he's losing. But so far, it seems as though he has really established his dominance in this lane already, and it's going to be a big gold boost for him.
Yeah, it's not just a gold boost. I think it's more important that he gets these kills for the Heartstopper. Like, he's back to full mana. So you're going to have to eat, like, what, 3 death pulses to shove him out of lane.
That's not going to be fun. Of course, looking over to that mid lane for a moment, nothing to say is going to be there on the Deucer. We have Arme playing the Morphling, and they're just going to trade farm. And for now, nothing to say is going to find himself on top of the CS board. Which I suppose is to be expected in some way, because the Morphling has to be really careful how much damage he takes from that Mystic Snake. Because it can really just burst you down if you're not paying attention to where your stats are as a Morph.
Yeah, it's a bit trickier for Morph to kind of juggle with that, because the bounces are semi-unpredictable. And I have to say, this is not something we saw last time, but nothing to say, because of his Battle Pass levels, has that special attack animation. Look at his projectiles.
That is very nice.
It's golden. Oh yeah. Look at that. Golden projectile. Ooh.
Thank you for that, John. You always notice the important things in these games.
So shiny.
Bottom lane, Faith Beyond and SingQ going to be there. They're playing up against XM. And of course the Venge as well. I believe that is Victoria. XM. It should be just perfectly fine here. Like, they can slow him down a little bit with this Phoenix, but ultimately the Weaver's going to have a free lane. You know, Faith Beyond, yeah, he could focus a lot on just ensuring they get a lot of denies off, but this is becoming even... How is SRF on a triple kill now? Why was going for a pull, in all fairness, so he couldn't exactly help, but now SRF's going to hit that level 4 mark. He's going to outlevel the Ember. And his farm is going to start really going through the roof.
Yeah, it's actually not that easy for the Ember. Like, you can burn through the Flame Guard even at level 2 very fast. Level 3 is when that kind of sustains itself, but for now, it's super easy for SRF to damage it off. Sleight of Fist at level 1 is a long cooldown, so you can't exactly dodge every single time, and SRF has just found so much. Again, the hero kills are more important for the Necropros in terms of regen, so you're back up to 300 mana. You're not shoving this guy out anytime soon.
They're going to try. Y might get a courier. No, he won't. Courier was just a bit too quick. James now going to rotate back in and threaten with his presence. Y seemingly just going to stick around now and just ensure that if they do make the jump, he'll be there to help. But now he might die. They do spot him. Y just chop the tree down and run away. This is partially not what you want either, right? Because you don't want Y soaking XP off the Ember. It's you definitely want to try and give as much XP over to that Ember Spirit so you can hit that 6 mark and be a bit more self-sustainable. But he's really got no choice. He has to just babysit Sylar up until that level 6 is there.
Yeah, and he's not really able to trade too well. Like, he's not able to go into right-click SRF because that will put him in range for the Death Pulses as well. So there's a lot of leeway for CDEC in this top lane, and they are making this Necrophos work a lot better than we saw it in Game 1.
Malefice, but Y is probably going to be dead. He does throw the stun out, but James will help secure another kill for this Necrophos. Now the Shard Sylar, he has to run around. Snowball just waiting for the next passenger, and well, at least the double chains will save Sylar. That Snowball actually kind of working against them, just really setting up those chains. But in some weird way, you also kind of force Sylar to go for those level 4 chains, which may not have been what he wanted exactly.
Nah, it does hurt him just a tad. And they did already force out the Phoenix rotation there, so they free up their bot lane on top of that. So now SinQ's just kind of forced to stack up, leave that lane, which gives XM an easier time to farm up, which means you're not shutting down the Weaver while your safe lane Ember is not finding too much farm.
Not great news for EHOME, is what you're trying to say. It's
Yeah. It's not great trades. Man, those battle pass pings just look
on the brighter side though, like nothing to say he's having a great old time. He's basically free farmed the mid lane, 48 and 8 right now, and he's got stacks in the jungle. Like this could be a real problem for CDEC later on, where nothing to say just gets to that point where you just never get through the HP of the Medusa, and she could just always go for that emergency divine if things get really, really bad. Assuming she can farm it, of course. And the game can get very hard. But speaking of hard, Y is again being chased down, and well, shards are there, Snowball's there. He is getting whacked away by these Medusa illusions, but ultimately, can Sylar get the chains off? He can. So he does at least get himself a trade. Almost got denied off by the neutrals had he got the auto attack, but at least Sylar got a kill for himself. It's not all too bad.
Yeah, it does look like EHOME is going to be depending nearly entirely on nothing to say. Like, his farm has been great. They have invested in the stacks for him. He hasn't been hunted down, so CDEC's not been roaming around to shut down the Medusa. That's a big boon for EHOME. It feels like CDEC should have some answers on hand, though. Again, the Weaver with the Diffusal's not too bad, and they should be able to get that early farm on, although you have to be a bit careful with Ame right now.
Ame, falling low, just continues strength morphing a little bit. Still no real answer here for nothing to say. They've just left him alone, and all the focus has really been on Sylar. SRF with that Melodic just continues running forward. He just wants to bait Sylar in again. Of course, he does have help in the form of that Venge and Tusk around, and James will barely spot out Y on the Witch Doctor. But he's not really in range to really initiate on yet. He'll just disrupt the pool there. Well, we'll get it off anyway. And now they do ping out Sylar. SRF, he's got the Reaper Scythe. He wants to make something happen.
Yeah, it's, how do you even lane against SRF? He has a sub 10-minute mech.
Oh my goodness, that's...
It's like a
Yeah,
mech
so-
brown boots.
He hasn't even got the Ghost Shroud yet, in all fairness, so like, he's not unkillable, but he kind of is, with that much heal. It's, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Ooh.
You just kind of accept the fact that Sylar's going to struggle up until he gets a bit more XP and farm up.
Yeah, it's they are investing heavily here on CDEC. Like, they're keeping their 2 supports up. They've been pinging that tier 1 for a while, so they want it gone. This is somewhat affecting XM's farm. Well, not quite, but you aren't slowing down Fate Beyond, so he has his Necrobook 1 up, and that means our Beastmaster can get decent push down or just clear out the jungle.
Yeah, it'll just... It's hard to push while XM's around. It looks like he's just gonna... Yeah, he's just gonna keep splitting up, just farm the jungle, farm the lane. Keep pressuring that tower. Now, Sentry's down with the Roar. They do get XM, but he has time-lapse. A follow-up stun. He'll be fine. Off I go, says the bug, and... It's the hard thing. In fact, he's going to turn now to Y. He still has that Melodict on top of him, but he just doesn't care. He runs in with the Sakuchi, claims the kill, and I don't think Faith is going to be able to kill him back. And he's in prime position to get those 10-minute bounty runes as well. Faith is going to try and scare him off, and looks like he's done so successfully.
Yeah, I still think you're happy with finding those kills, though. On the side of CDEC, you've just given yourself a nice bit of an injection. They do still manage to find the bounty rune in that dire area anyway, so overall, still going to be very happy. The only thing CDEC hasn't put a lid on is that Medusa, so you see nothing to say. It does have the early Yasha up. XM is making a jungle rotation. I don't think it's quite enough to put the lid on that, though.
No, I need some help. Does scout out. Xingqiu getting caught, but we'll just Sunray over the shards. They still haven't found that T1, and so in all fairness, as much as SRF has had a great time, if you're not able to find the objective, you can't start really making plays across the map, and of course EHOME aren't going to have the same problem because they have a Beastmaster. But Sylar's just successfully defending this top tier 1 tower, and we're almost 11 minutes in now. And it's really all just Flame Guard. He's just Flame Guarding the whole creep wave down. XM, though, just standing right there waiting for Sylar. Sylar has Remnants out, and he'll be fine. Victoria couldn't get the scout off to really get a swap off, but that'll finally allow this tier 1 top tower to go down only after EHOME has secured the bottom tier 1.
Yeah, it does end up being a bit even in terms of trades. It does take a lot more investment from CDEC, right? Like, they had to have 3 heroes up there. No way they could get it done. With even the earlier 3 heroes, it needed 2 cores to push that tower. So you are missing out on some free farm there, and you leave Ame pretty exposed here.
He's alright. Faith has the Roar, so but you just don't have enough DPS output right now. Instead, Faith will just continue pressuring, trying to farm up that Necro 3 book. And of course, I think the time where you really start playing up against that morph is when the Spirit Vessel's there on Xingqiu, and he's got the Urn up now, so he's still a while off, but he's on his way. He may die though, as we do see a bounty being set on Sylar, but they are nowhere near Sylar right now, so just trying to play some mind games with the side of EHOME. And CDEC just continue to smoke up and roam across this mid lane, but a lot of pings came out as James ran underneath the sentry ward. He is invis right now, James. They are not able to find anybody.
Yeah, it would have been really big if they did catch out Nothing to Say. Fortunately, they don't manage to get that done. One thing about EHOME's build-up, you mentioned Xingqiu going to the vessel. I believe Sylar has been building up towards that as well, so slightly inefficient there, but I guess more options on hand.
Remnants away from Sylar. He's still being chased. Reaper's Scythe.
Oh!
Pick your poison. And the bounty has been claimed. Gotta love those battle pass points, John.
Oh yeah, really important. And in the end, they do find it. Oh, they set one out.
That's a bit of a harder one. I don't know about that one, CDEC. They want Nothing to Say. They'll take his farm, but that doesn't count. Oh, alright. Faith Beyond's now on the bounty list as well. Just, CDEC really just marking these bounties on the side of EHOME. I'm not sure if they're actually going to be able to find them in time, but you never know. Nothing to say is around James right now. Though James, well, nothing to say, he does have a Hawk to kind of scout out there. So, should be perfectly fine regardless if they make the jump. And he also has the Manta style up. He really should be okay. So, Snowball gonna come in, tag team activated with the Warriors Punch and Shards, but you'll see EHOME coming in now. Here comes Arme with that Morph of the Ember, and nothing to say is out of mana, but they found XM in that chain. However, he does time-lapse in time. Now the Roar, but the Strength Morph is there from the Morphling, and nothing to say. He's gonna be in trouble, but what a swap coming out from Victoria. Just getting XM back out of there with the stun. Nothing to say. So close. Bounty is claimed. Faith Beyond is to be next, apparently, but they'll go after Y instead. Faith, you gotta run, sir. There's a bounty on your head right now.
Oh, man. That was one of the cleaner initiations for EHOME. Like, they got the Stone Gaze off, they got the Egg off. It was just not enough to dissuade CDEC. Right now, it's not, you know, you're not big enough in any of these heroes to take these fights, and the damage is there from CDEC now. Like, they have ways of... They can eat right through the Medusa. She doesn't have the best stats. It's not that tanky just yet. They need to protect Nothing to Say. Drag him out. Get him to farm up. Just all the small plays. Like, those swaps to get the stuns off. It's just really... CDEC is just so much on point in EHOME. They need a lot more wards, which is weird to say when you have a Beastmaster. You have Hawks. You just need a lot more vision here to stop these movements, because CDEC, they've been playing so aggressive.
You know, you mentioned as well they had the items now up and the damage to really dish out to Nothing to Say. It got even better after the team fight, John. XM's got a Deso up now. So now they really have some damage up. Well, EHOME, they're going to play the delay game. They understand, they've got a Medusa. We keep farming. That's the name of the game for Nothing to Say. And he is still at the top of the net worth board regardless of that last engagement. So, nothing's been set in stone quite yet at all for EHOME. However, EHOME, they smoke up, they've got the Roar, they've got the Necro 3, and they want to go after a T1. Straight onto SRF, just popping the egg immediately. Nice swap out from Victoria though, and that'll allow SRF to just heal himself up. They continue this chase, however. SRF slowly being burned away at and does die, but now there will come the chase from XM. Trying to go after SingQ, but those Fire Spirits not allowing him to finish. In fact, never mind. They get the kill, and now they also get both supports. Why? He'll go down as well. James trying to make a chase onto Faith Beyond. He has shards in a few seconds, but that'll be enough. They'll lose SRF, they'll find two supports as a trade. Ultimately, EHOME, they do make some more gold out of that.
Yeah, it's a really nice trade for EHOME because they do manage to finally kill off that Necros. It did take quite the investment, like an Egg and Roar. Not going to have those tools in the next minute or so, but it's not going to be that long. CDEC has tapered off their fights, although this does mean they can go straight to Feroce. And you see that minus armor, Mike? Wave of Terror plus Desolator. Plus the Weaver Bugs. No armor on Roche.
Yeah, that's not nice. Poor Roshan. Just having to stand there naked and punch people he doesn't even know. EHOME, they're just playing the delay game. Just keep playing the delay game. Interestingly enough as well, John, you kind of brought up the fact that Sylar and SingQ were buying Spirit Vessels. Looks like SingQ sold his now, or his urn.
Oh, okay. That's good.
It's good and it's not, right? Because you just lost half that gold. That's miscommunication does tend to cost you a bit of gold here for the side of EHOME. And well, at least the Spirit Vessel on Sylar will slowly be coming up now. He just needs the recipe and is most of the way there. Bit hard to farm when Arme's just sitting there farming right next to you, but he'll pop the Flame Guard. Arme just stands his ground. Sylar may eventually be forced to just get out of here, although nice chains is there, and he will have to remnant out. Meanwhile, the rest of CDEC, they've smoked up. They'll take an Arcane Rune. It'll be on XM, so that Sakuchi speed is a lot faster all of a sudden, and he finds an Imclaw on his way in. They get Y on the Witch Doctor, and the rest of EHOME appear to be safe. They'll just get out of there. But I worry when I look at that net worth lead for CDEC now, John. 7k the way of the Radiant and you're up against the Medusa lineup, that's not good news for EHOME.
Oh, it most definitely isn't. Now, EHOME at least is still matching with Nothing to Say, but all of your other cores are getting shafted. Completely shafted for that one hero. Nothing to Say has a lot of burden on his shoulders to carry, and he just might be able to. Like, you don't really need too much farm from your supports, from even Fate Beyond, to be honest. You just need to land the spells, land them right, and XM, he is pretty far forward for that tier 1.
Oh, XM does get chained up. He has time-lapse though, and he'll just Sakuchi away. That's not the target they wanted.
Oh.
They'll throw the egg down with the Raw, straight onto SRF. Victoria trying to swap him out. He will survive, but the egg is ticking away, and SRF does eventually go down, and so does Victoria. A great team fight from EHOME already. And poor old James has been caught out of position. And well, he has no choice but to try and fight, but he will not get through the HP of Sin-Q. And that seems to be the just the way to do it, right? You kill off SRF, and suddenly the rest of CDEC, they don't look that strong. Though, I say that, Arme is just happily going into Y. They won't continue any chase, but XM trying to sneak his way into that back line. Sakuchi, Y does drop a Sentry Ward preemptively with the Melodict. XM doesn't have time-lapse for another 5 seconds. You'll have to be a little bit wary of that. Now Arme even trying to find this Witch Doctor. Y almost daring them to keep going, and eventually XM just TPs out.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Yeah, it's a nice win for EHOME with those 3 kills. They do miss out on the outpost, though. Like, they did not have the top in time, so that's still a lot of EXP going the way of CDEC. But they are starting to bounce in just a bit. Again, when it comes down to it, if you can split CDEC up, throw your spells out, and find those big kills, then you can win out. You don't need that much farm in the other heroes. It's really down to Medusa. And as long as EHOME keeps playing aggressive, keeps using that superior vision they can get from the Hawks to find these isolated targets, then they can bounce back in. CDEC's not quite up there just yet in terms of complete farm.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, they're starting to set the bounties themselves, EHOME.
Oh. And they smoke straight away. They are not lying. They want to go for this Weaver right now. And even avoiding the Tusk, they go after Victoria, though they'll run into Arme. Now that's a huge target, but he waveforms out of there as soon as he sees the axes flying. And, well, James, he'll tank the gank. In fact, he might find even more than that. Why? We'll get stunned up, but James understands he is going to die for the sake of his team running out. That does actually allow Arme to get the full Ethereal Blade out now on the Morphling, and he can try to burn someone down with the shotgun. Tries to, gets the chains off, getting through the Flame Guard. It's not enough. That Flame Guard was still active, and Arme just going to have to run. Swap out from Victoria, but that may cost them that support Venge kill. And in fact, no. EHOME, they don't want to chase up the hill. They'll leave it be. It's not worth the risk. And ultimately, EHOME, they just leave with the Tusk kill.
Yeah,
SRF.
it's not the biggest loss. Oh.
Showing himself, John. Faith Beyond has a blink up. Does also have the Roar, and CDEC know how much the side of EHOME love roaring up SRF. Continues to just show himself, baiting the side of EHOME in. But the Aegis now does expire on Arme, and that'll be Q to leave. Or maybe it won't for XM. He gets caught out by Faith Beyond and does go down. Bounty claimed.
Ooh. Yeah, it is getting a bit harder for XM to maintain his presence, mainly because Fate Beyond has had the Necrobook tree for a while. So they do have free vision on the Weaver whenever he shows his face, and you have to be a bit careful about that. XM is saving up for his Lincoln, so once that's up, it gets a bit more complicated to immediately roar him up. But I'm sure you can adjust your initiation for that, and EHOME now are starting to look a lot nicer. Like, Nothing to Say is rushing the Butterfly. So it does have the Eagle song up and running from the Secret Chopper. Should have it up once the Courier flies out. And it just means the damage output of Nothing to Say gets that much nicer. It's going to be a lot harder to deal with the raw right-clicks of the Medusa when you do hit these points. Of course, you still have to hit level 25 is when it's best. You get your mana, additional mana, super tanky, and you're not quite itemized on CDEC to counteract that. We're not seeing any defusal at all. So it's going to be a lot harder to eat through that mana shield.
There's been a lot of focus from CDEC to just try and get those Lincoln Spheres up. Because that roar from Faith Beyond has been quite hard to deal with. Of course, you already have one on the Morph, but now they're trying to build one on XM. Do you see a smoke up? Run past the outpost, and although CC queue up at the top lane very, very soon. Because he will have Icarus Dive available, but well, now it's very, very obvious. XM, he goes for the Dire Courier. It was Sinq's Courier after all. He'll go into the tree line and just hide and TP away immediately, and the smoke will essentially lead to nothing.
Yeah, it's a bit of wasted time as well. That was time they could use to farm up. At this point, SRF's been kind of shafted. He's still level 14 on that Necro. It's not been steady progression. The items have kind of stalled out. Although he does have enough to finish up the Guardian Greaves. That is going to be a nice spike for him as well. We'll see if it's going to be enough to sustain them, though.
Well, mid lane.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
T1 tower, going to go down very, very easily.
Middle tower has fallen.
EHOME now. Have that roar up, would love to find another kill.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
CDEC still just playing the avoid game, but you do have that Lincoln Sphere on XM, so you might be feeling slightly more confident. Seems that is not the case. They might be just happy to farm up a bit and drag this out a bit later on.
It does start to get worrying, though. Like, again, that's a Medusa. You already have the Butterfly and nothing to say. I mean, you're getting some great farm as well on the Morph. You're about to hit that BKB point for Ame. It just doesn't feel like you're going to be able to face up against Medusa just yet. Let's say has managed to find his space on the map.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, they just push down the bottom tier 1, tier 2, no problems at all.
Dire's middle tower
Mid lane, though, is being forced in by CDEC. It will be glyphed. Looks like CDEC might just wait for the next Roshan, but it is going to be around 2 minutes from now. It's not the fastest timing ever.
tower is under attack.
Might be just an idea to maintain the high ground. Well, they do spot out Faith Beyond, but can you actually break the gap and take the man out? He has been quite elusive on this Beastmaster.
Yeah, and CDC are kind of hesitant now to fight. They've just lost out on a bit too much in the past few fights. That EHOME has gotten a great foothold now. Their 6k lead is just down to 3k. So they are starting to slip out in terms of that advantage they were holding on to, and they've got to wait for a bit more. I mean, they already have the BKB on Ame, which should be nice enough. It's just, why is he so far forward?
Thinking about a kill onto Sylar. Does have the BKB like you mentioned, so might just be feeling confident, but he wants to farm that hard lane. He is going to be surrounded, however. Sylar going to go out with the chains. Ame not going to be afraid. Just will be fine. Just walk out of there safely.
Yeah, this time farming up, though, doesn't feel like it's being as efficient for CDEC. Like, they don't really clear camps the fastest. At least when you look at SRF, it's not that fast. XM has been
Radiant's courier has been
going at a decent pace, but you take a look at what he's building into. It looks like a it's the, what do you call the thing that increases range?
Dragon Lance.
Yeah, the Dragon Lance into the MKB. So the MKB is going to be super useful up against the Dusa, of course, with the Butterfly, but it doesn't feel like it's coming out fast enough.
No, I mean, the farms just slowed down so much for CDEC. They've only got a 2k net worth advantage now.
Radiant's top tower
And,
is under attack.
well, EHOME just playing around that Medusa. Nothing to say, we'll just slowly push that tier 2 top tower, and there will be absolutely zero defense. I mean, they do glyph it in the end.
Dire's bottom tower
XM does find the bottom tier 2, so a direct trade.
tower is
In
under
fact, not even, because that glyph was enough to force EHOME back, but it looks like they're just trying to kite them in. EHOME will go back after that tier 2. SRF just on the front lines right now on that Necrophos. Meanwhile, a Roshan attempt is trying to be stolen here by by the side of CDEC. They've got a double damage there on Arme, but EHOME seem to be aware of this, and it might be too late. That Roshan is so low, but the Stone Gaze has started. The Icarus dive with the egg. Faith, he gets in there with the Raw now. Nice swap out from Victoria, but the Roshan will go to nothing to say, and now Victoria will die. And Remnants forward onto the Tusk. James, he should be caught out here by Sylar. Eventually, they will be able to get this kill as the Snowball is going to go back into the Ember. They tried to just steal it, but it was a bit of wishful thinking there. And EHOME now, the huge advantage. You look at nothing to say, even queues up the Rapier. They're feeling confident.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much fully slotted up. Might as well go all in. CDEC, they didn't have any sentries around. That was a Hawk from Fate Beyond spotting that out. They weren't ready. They were just forced into it without the vision, and that cost them.
Now, how do you stop this tier 3 push? Like, it's going down so quick, nothing to say. We'll eventually just get it, and without Rax, again, you just can't deal any damage to the Medusa right now, so he's just going to keep hitting away. Now, swap in onto the Deucer, nothing to say. He has the Aegis. He should feel very, very safe. Victoria may not feel very safe as he does die. Reaper's Scythe is there from SRF, but again, that's only the first life. Ethereal, gonna come out, but really does nothing. They really want to make this jump, but nothing to say is almost daring them to do so by just waiting there. You've also still got the Roar up on Faith Beyond. And EHOME, they'll happily go for the secondary racks.
Oh.
Egg gonna be dropped. James snowballed in, gets chained up. They can't protect him with that egg there. An immediate buyback. But that's gonna be a secondary racks going down. They really need to do something about nothing to say. He stone gazes. There'll be a swap. There's gonna be no follow-up because the stone gaze is just keeping everyone back. Victoria will buy back now as well. Shards won't lock him in, but nothing to say. He is low on mana. Not low enough. The rest of the team is still more than happy to fight. And that'll be it. EHOME will walk out. CDEC will lose their opportunity to try and make a chase happen. And suddenly, the side of EHOME, they just trust in their Medusa. They're 2 racks ahead.
Yeah, they've gotten an 8k lead as well. All of that gold bouncing back into the way of EHOME. And CDEC, it's starting to look like they missed a bit of an opportunity. They missed out with how they itemized. They could not hunt, nothing to say. They didn't really hunt him as well, right? Like, he was in the jungle a lot. They weren't locking that jungle in. So nothing to say was given a way back in. The timings from CDEC weren't quite enough, although they do smoke up. They want to keep going.
I mean, you kind of have to. Can't just keep playing this out and letting nothing to say just get whatever he wants. In fact, he has the gold for the full Divine Rapier. No, he went for the Daedalus. So just going for a safer build, understanding being 2 racks ahead, there's no need for a Divine. Gonna loop around. Oh, he's gonna have the Daedalus though. He gets it just in the nick of time. The courier goes down, but it's too late. He already picked up the item. Now the team fight begins, but you've already lost. Why? So EHOME, it's a 4v5 for them. The buyback will be there from Y and the Witch Doctor, but CDEC just unable to really capitalize on anything right now. Back Sylar, remnanting up towards Victoria. They know he has no buyback, and Victoria is going to die on that Venge. Now Faith, trying to go after James. Sylar, with that Ag's Remnant, will be able to catch him out, and there is no way out of that situation. He just locks himself in.
Yeah, CDEC, they were the ones to smoke up for that. They only really find a Witch Doctor who just buys back, goes back in. And EHOME now have all the opportunities to really take that last racks. Like, the options are growing limited here for CDEC.
They'll push in the top lane.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Sunray to fly out, just keeping everyone up. SRF, oh, he's been
Oh,
chained
man.
up. He does go into the Ghost Shroud, but now waveform in
Oh.
from Arme. He's
Oh,
been
no.
stone gazed though, Arme.
Oh. No.
Yeah, that's it. There's a buyback, but they might just call GG. Yeah, they've had enough. Gonna be up against Mega Creeps and EHOME. They forced to a game 3. Of course, we'll have the pleasure of going into that post-match analysis to really see what happened there. But man, it looked so good for CDEC.